What is culture? It's one of those words we use in different ways depending on context. In some contexts, culture means the arts and learning, all things aesthetic. Think art museums, symphony orchestras, literature, poetry, theater. In other contexts, culture can refer to the mores, customs, and beliefs of a large majority of a particular population. Think Southern culture, for example, or Western civilization. But at its broadest, culture can refer to the sum total of society and its institutions, beliefs, shared history, and language which a group shares. The problem is that different people mean different things when they talk about culture, and these differences can lead to confusion when Christians talk to one another about what it means to be a Christian within culture. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Monday, August 18th, 2025. It is important in thinking about the relationship of Christian faith to the larger world that we be clear about what we mean when we talk about culture. In Christ and Culture, the book by H. Richard Niebuhr, early on confronts this very question. When he talks about culture, he has a very specific definition in mind, one that he synthesizes from several different sociologists. For Niebuhr, culture is, quote, the artificial secondary environment which man imposes on the natural. It comprises language, habits, ideas, beliefs, customs, social organization, inherited artifacts, technical processes, and values. Okay, I know this is a bit of a mouthful. What does he mean by all of this? Let me answer with a funny story. In a famous commencement address at Kenyon College in 2005, David Foster Wallace told the graduates-to-be this story. He said, "There are these two young fish swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish swimming the other way, who nods at them and says, 'Morning, boys, how's the water?' And the two young fish swim on for a bit, and eventually one of them looked over at the other and goes, 'What the heck is water?'" Wallace's little story is not unique. My own advisor, Douglas Otati, in making the same point years before, would say, "I don't know who discovered water, but I'll bet it wasn't a fish." In telling this little story, Wallace explains, the point of the fish story is merely that the most obvious, important realities are often the ones that are hardest to see and talk about. Like water to fish or air to all land creatures, culture is what we human beings live within every day. It is the language that not only helps us express ourselves, but also helps shape what we think. It is the ideas, like the thing we call history. It is the institutions like family and parenthood, civil government, and economic systems in which we earn money and buy the things we want and need. It is all of the things in our common life together that we simply take for granted, take as our objective reality, but which are just ways human beings have invented to make life together work. And like water to a fish or air to a land animal, we just assume it and can hardly see it because it is the reality in which we live. One of my favorite books that I return to again and again is Arthur Herman's How the Scots Invented the Modern World. Herman makes a compelling case that much of what defines the modern world was invented either in Scotland or by Scots living outside Scotland. The modern market economy? Thank Adam Smith. Believe it or not, market economies did not always exist. There have been other kinds of economies before, such as mercantile economies. Popular sovereignty, in which governments, including kings and queens, are ultimately accountable to the people. Think George Buchanan, who wrote in 1579, "The people have the right to confer the royal authority upon whomever they wish." My point here is not to brag about our Scottish heritage as Presbyterians. Okay, maybe a little I'll brag, but to illustrate that culture and the things that go into making culture are human inventions. Culture is simply the world in which we live. So the question now is, what is the relationship between Christian believers and the culture in which they live? As we'll find out, this is not a question that allows for one simple answer. In fact, there have been many answers. We'll start one of those answers tomorrow, but for now, it's enough simply to think about the fact that we all live within culture, and the culture we live in is the reality within which we live and move and have our being. It is the air we breathe, the water we drink. It is everything. Tomorrow, we'll dig a little deeper into the question of culture before we move on. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.